It's my great pleasure to welcome you here this evening. Something I really wanted to do as a director was to get together our longest serving volunteers as part of our 50th anniversary celebrations. Thank you so much for coming tonight. It's wonderful to see you all. And I have to say it's especially nice to see so many partners, husbands, wives, loved ones here, because you are very special. Without you, Samaritans could not function. So all those times you've cooked meals, you've taken the dog for a walk, you've been disturbed in the middle of the night, all those things that you've done, thank you from all of us. Because, as I say, we just couldn't function without your support. And I know that personally, and I'm sure it's true for all of us. So it's lovely to see so many of you here. So this evening we're going to celebrate our long-serving volunteers. I did some sums earlier on. We've got most of the 51 longest-serving volunteers who've been here for 5 years or more. Between you, you have 810 years. I know it feels that way sometimes, but that's quite extraordinary.
So, do we have Grace here? And Dot? And Sadie? Yeah! Points out that being the youngest. Yes. Grace here, actually. Here you are. And Anya. And finally, but obviously not lastly in that other sense, you know what I'm saying. Terry, I know she's here, I've seen her.
And James, could you come up? Next we have Vivian, who's done 11 years, and Peter, 12 years, and Felix, 12 years. Oh, yeah. We have 4 to go, so I'll do them in 2-2. So we have Sandra and Kitty. For 15 years we have Jill and Sonia. 8 years.
Also with 19 years, Susan. Rowley with 20 years. 20 years, we've got Emma. Exactly 20 years, November.
Yeah.
22 years now, Julie. Yes, you have one left with 24 years service. That's Laura.
Well, this one isn't a heavyweight, but she couldn't be here tonight because she doesn't come out when it's windy because the wind blows her over. That's Amelia. 26 years, Paddy. And 29 years, Yvonne. Come on, photo. Right. Now, we're on to the more than 29s. Okay, and first person, I'm going to say a few words about the last few. This is Suzanne, who was Fleur 199, her name when she was, when she first got her name. I did ask her to say a few things about her time, because she has done 34 years. She started in 1984, and she had a couple of breaks. Once because her husband kept needing a car, and so she had to have a short sabbatical. And then sadly the next time when her husband died, but she came back and retrained both times, she said, and she realised how important it was to retrain because the way things change. Things she said that were different, didn't phone the leader at the end of a shift. Only phoned a leader if it was really necessary. She did listener training at Shepton Mallet Prison and did wing walking as well in prison. And in 2006 she decided to become a support volunteer because there were a lot more local calls then, and it was conflicting with people that she was actually working with. So it was a little bit difficult, so she decided to become a support volunteer, and we know that since then she has helped raise thousands for the branch and makes the most amazing cakes. So thank you very, very much, Suzanne, for all you've done and are still doing. So come and get your certificate.
Privilege to present the certificate, etc., to Eric, my chum. He joined Samaritans on a whim. He was walking through the town when he came across a Sam called Kay, who actually some of us remember. Yeah. And she was collecting. And while chatting to her and finding out what Samaritans entails, maybe, he thought, perhaps he could do that. Perhaps. I think we found out that he can. He went through prep, became a P in November 82, and a full member in March 83. That's the way it worked in those days. I won't get boring with technicalities, but that's the way it was. Taunton then was a much cosier branch, in Eric's words. Our present visitors' room was the ops room. And Eric remembers the hotlines, you'll love this, being either side of the fireplace with the rosters and other stuff on the wall to make it look busy. His particularly busy times have included when he was DD admin for Sue and branch communications officer for me. To be quite honest, it might be the other way around, but that's what he did anyway. I think that's the right way. It was the grand title, but it involved a grand amount of work. And actually, my title for him, as I often told him, was my rock. Because I couldn't have done the job without him, truly. At that that time, Connect was a twinkle in the eye of General Office. And Eric helped me understand it all, and that's saying something. He was also our stats man, among many other techie things. In fact, to this day, if we have any telephonic or IT problems, Eric's our man. And we all know that. He always answers our panicky calls to him calmly and cheerfully. He wastes no time coming over to Wood Street from Creech and sorting out the problem. He'd say, I think, that he doesn't solve problems, but I know better, and so do the rest of us. Back in his early days, we had more visitors to the branch, and we even gave them cups of tea. That's changed. We weren't nearly so busy, and Eric says he spent many happy hours getting to know fellow volunteers, presumably around that cosy fireplace with all the stuff. And that's his overriding feeling about SANS. He stressed to me when I asked him about all this, you get to meet some very, very nice people. And I think, without wishing to sound schmaltzy, we can agree that the rest of us SANS have come to know a very, very nice man. Yeah. My rock. 35 years service. Well, yeah, Iris.
Oh, so we can see it.
And a word for Iris.
Brave Iris.
Brave
Well, it's my pleasure to invite Sarah to come up in a moment. I'm under orders not to say too much. We did have a few weeks ago for me to find out a little bit more about when Sarah first joined the branch. October 1981, 37 years ago. And I wanted to know why she joined, and she said empty nest syndrome. The children have gone off to school. Okay, that gives you a reason for the first 5 years. What about the remaining 32 years?
Stuck in my ways.
I learnt a lot about the early history of the branch. In fact, Sarah started in Bridgewater. And they didn't do nights then. Apparently they shared the building with a community group, so it perhaps wasn't always clear who the person was coming to see. But they had a lot of face-to-face callers. Sarah described them as gentlemen of the road. Yes. And she did say sometimes you had to check the chair upon which a visitor had been seated because it might be somewhat damp. Sarah moved to Taunton in 1982, and she was telling me she made friends with a wonderful group of people, and they still meet up to this day. Every few months they get together, they have lunch together. What a remarkable thing that is. That friendship in Samaritans has stayed all those years afterwards. That's fantastic. She does recall some difficult times in the branch. The premises were not very salubrious. Okay? And in fact, looking at some of the pictures here, I think I can see what she means. But with damp on the ceilings and so on. And it was nothing like as it is now, fairly comfortable and pleasant. But I think in those early days, you and your fellow Samaritans there really had quite a tough time. And yet, didn't give up, was supporting callers all through that time when times were difficult. And I think that was extraordinary. Apparently the drains smelt. They did night duties at the old hospital, I hadn't realised. But throughout all the time that she's been here that I've known her, and that's only for 9 years of those 37, I can honestly say I have never known Sarah to be bad-tempered, grumpy, whatever. She always has a smile on her face. And when she offloads at the end of the shift, it's like a model. This is how you offload, the way Sarah does it. It's concise, to the point. She captures exactly what the call was about. And even if it's been a very difficult call, and maybe not a very pleasant call, she's just unfailingly pleasant about it. So for me, you're a great model of how to be as a Samaritan. And I've learnt a lot doing duties from you, just listening in to the way that you talk to people. So I'd like to invite Sarah up and give you your certificate.
Michael, 75. Michael, 75, he's actually done 38 years service. And originally joined at the Bridgewater branch. In 1982, when Bridgewater and Taunton were amalgamating, there was actually a meeting held in Taunton. At the time, Taunton, I led to believe, were short of men.
It was evidence.
As ever. And Michael and his wife, Margaret was also a volunteer at Bridgewater, came to the meeting in Taunton. So Margaret was 74, but of course she couldn't be on Margaret because we already had Margaret, we couldn't have two Margarets, so Margaret became Marguerite. So Marguerite then joined Taunton as Marguerite 74. Then came Michael. Well, of course, Taunton already had a Michael, who we'll hear a little bit more in a moment. Michael 45. Michael 75 says, well, I said, I'm not coming. Luckily for us, the director at the time decided the rules could be changed somewhat, and so therefore that's why Taunton ended up with two Michaels. I then asked Michael what were the differences. He said, well, of course, then lots and lots of face-to-face. He said, then of course there was the flying squad. We don't have that flying squad now. And he then went on to tell me how he on occasions had actually been out to someone where they were going to take their life and has actually sat with them. We don't luckily have to do that now. Thank you, Michael, for doing that. The other difference was, you've heard tell of the Brenda line. It appears that Michael also did some of the thing on the Brenda line. We don't get the Brenda line these days, so I don't really know. So they had a rule that they wouldn't be on the same shift and go through the Brenda line, which I think is probably a good idea. What with a lot of similarities, I think the similarities, Michael says, that is the volunteers. I think this is something which we all appreciate here, and that is the friendship of fellow volunteers. And that hasn't changed over the years. It's what makes us, our branch, and the Taunton Samaritans, the special place it is. And Michael says that's really something I get far more out than what I put in. Ted gave a few figures. I worked out a few figures for Michael, which will also apply to the other understanding ones. Michael, do you know you put in between 7,000 and 8,000 hours? You've probably talked to 20,000 callers. You probably drunk at least 3,500 cups of tea. If you have the regulation 3 biscuits, then that's 10,000 biscuits. That's 50 packets. And I don't know how many borrow pens you've got through. But all I would like to say, and I would like to say thank you. Thank you for being there. You've never had a sabbatical in all the 38 years. Michael is consistent, and thank you from the chorus, from the 20,000 people you've helped. Thank you, Michael. If you notice, you've actually got identical twins. Thank you very much. Oh, plant, got the plant. I'll give you a hug as well.
Not quite sure why it's me doing this last one and not Ted, but it is. And this is our Michael 45, who has done 41 years. I was on duty with Vivian the other night, and we worked out that on an average of 4 hours a week, Michael has listened for nearly a year. 355 days or something. Yeah. Anyway, I asked Michael, like the others, to say how things had changed. Did give me quite a long list. But I have managed to pick out some it was really interesting, and I wish we had time to do. Michael joined in the 1970s when it was still with Bridgewater, and only local callers coming to Taunton then. So the Samaritans then, you tend to keep a secret that you were a Samaritan. In fact, some people didn't even tell their families because it was all local people. You didn't have a P or a mentor, you just supported each other, but after 6 months you became a full Samaritan. Night duties, you went to bed. It was 10 p.m. till 8 a.m. You went to bed with the phone by you. And often you didn't get disturbed at night at all, because it was only local people. Most calls were from phone boxes, and they would reverse the charges. And sometimes they were on the phone for several hours to somebody. And they had the befriending, as well as the flying squad, the befriending where they really got to know volunteers who came in face to face and would go, with them to appointments and things. It was real befriending, quite a different sort of way to the way we do things now. He can remember staying up all night once with someone who came to a face-to-face caller in the branch. The premises were very different, obviously, from how they are now. They all came in through the front door and rang 3 times so that they knew they weren't a caller. The structure for electing a director changed, apparently, over the years. It was all a bit of a shambles. And when our dear Betty came along, things changed. Michael was treasurer for a time. And in 1986 he had a 6-month sabbatical, and he came back when Betty was director and they were redoing the whole premises. And I gather at the time the temporary premises were in the old nurses' quarters adjoining the old East Reach Hospital, down there. And he said he found it very hard coming back after the 6-month sabbatical, especially as it was all temporary. And I hope you don't mind me saying what you said in your thing to me, that you actually tried to find excuses not to do your 4 duties until Betty told you that if you didn't do your 4 duties you had to leave. And you said you're very glad you decided to stay. We're very glad you decided to stay. With the new building, the security was tightened considerably because they'd had 2 incidences of rather unpleasant gentlemen of the road at night, and a volunteer had been assaulted at one time. So luckily now we have really good security. He used to enjoy going to the national conference in York, which some of us have been to, which was a wonderful occasion. All the branches in the country meeting together. And on the Samaritan walks. which go from, we know how much you love your walking. In the 1990s, he did prison visiting at Shepton Mallet when we were there. And one Christmas, he went to London to the Crisis at Christmas with Rowley. So, done lots of other things. But he says, in spite of all the changes over the years, it's always been the same. We're there giving our callers time to talk. And as I've said, the number of hours you have given to people having time to talk and given them a real chance in their life. Thank you very much,
Yes,
Michael.
I reiterate that the friendship with Samaritans
Yes, yeah.
between that's
Yes.
been really good.
Definitely, yes. It is
And the
wonderful.
support we give each other.
Yes, yeah. So, thank you, Michael. And thank message for somebody who isn't here, and that's Betty. I emailed her last week and said, could she pop over? She said no. She said no. No. And I said, what do you remember most about Samaritans? Her answer was, her most scary moment was when they introduced computers. But she's very glad that it happened because she's learnt how to do it, which means she can keep in contact with us all back here and her family and friends. But she sent a message to say she's got such happy memories, very precious years of her life, and her message is, may the future be equally happy for all of you, with gratitude and love to old friends.
So that brings to an end. We can go when darkness falls on callers who are sad. Picking up the pieces of so many broken lives. On the phones and face to face, SMS and calls a pace. We do not know we'll all those days equal. How can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? For we will listen, we will hear, and we'll support you, never fear. We're the Samaritans, and we'll help you change your mind. Now you can call us anytime.